Hello, everybody. This is Johns Hopkins with Baltimore Heritage, and we're back with another of our 5-minute Histories videos. And we are now heading into the second week of February. And February, of course, is Black History Month, or African American History Month. And we're heading into the second week, and we thought we would take this opportunity to contribute to Black History Month in our own history way by sharing the history of Black History Month. If you're like me, you may have been curious about how we got here. And you may also be curious about why I'm doing this standing in front of an elementary school in Baltimore. And it's true, that's where I am. But this is not just any elementary school, elementary middle school. It is the former Carter G. Woodson Elementary School, now with a building named after him. And Carter Woodson, Dr. Carter G. Woodson, was the founder of what we today call Black History Month. Let's talk a little bit about him and a little bit about how Baltimore played a crucial role in the very first year of its founding. Have to say a quick thanks to a friend and Baltimore Heritage member, Melissa Gare, who gave me a windbreaker for our microphone, so hopefully our sound will come in pretty well this time. So Carter Woodson was born in Virginia in 1875, the son of mother and father who were formerly enslaved. They gained their freedom after the Civil War. His family was quite poor. He could only attend elementary school, primary school, sporadically. He had to work on their farm. But he, in between farm chores, apparently taught himself to read and write and a whole lot more. At age 17, he got a big break. He was allowed to go with his brother to a new high school started for African American kids in Huntington, West Virginia, not too far away. But he realized that the real world caught up with him there as well, as he financially had to make ends meet, and he did it by being a coal miner and attending high school, again, only sporadically. But at age 20, so 3 years in, he had earned enough money to become a full-time high school student at age 20. And once he got in school full-time, he rocketed through, graduated in 2 years, went on to teach high school. 2 years later, he was invited back to that high school in Huntington, the Douglas High School, I believe, to become its principal. So a meteoric career so far, but there's more. He, while a principal, attends college classes at Berea College in Kentucky and gets a bachelor's degree there, goes on to take classes at the University of Chicago and gets a PhD in history from Harvard University. He is not the first African American to get a PhD in history from Harvard. W.E.B. Du Bois is, and Du Bois, incidentally, spent some considerable time in Baltimore. His house in the Morgan Park neighborhood is a listed landmark on Baltimore City's landmark list, and we'll definitely have to do a video on him coming up, so stay tuned for that. But back to Woodson, he graduates from Harvard with a PhD, but can't find a job because white colleges discriminate based on color. And many of the black colleges kind of don't know what to do with this researcher in a brand new field that he's carving out called African American history or Negro history. He has another problem in that the American History Association, the professional group for historians, will take his dues. He's a dues-paying member, but they won't allow him to attend their conferences. They discriminate as well. And they certainly don't endorse his new field of African American history. So he decides to create his own association, the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, and his own journal, the journal by the same name. And he gets funding for both of those from the Carnegie Foundation and the Rockefeller Foundation, among others. And now he's got a megaphone. He can promote African American history throughout the country, and he does it in a way that he is committed to. And he's committed to the notion that history is not just for historians, but should be for everybody, that clergymen and business leaders and civic leaders should be talking about history. History should be in classrooms at elementary and high schools as well. Incidentally, that is a concept that we eagerly agree with Dr. Woodson on. Even these videos are a way of hopefully making history for everybody. So thank you, Dr. Woodson, for that as well. By 1926, he is now a national figure, and he and a few others decide that they want to make African American history really integrated into mainstream, and they do it by starting Negro History Week. They know they can't do it in a day. They need to carve out a week. And they choose the second week of February, where we're entering in now, because it is the birthday of both Abraham Lincoln, February 12th, and Frederick Douglass, February 14th. And so those were both well-known birthdays and celebrated in many Black communities for years and years. So that was kind of a natural. They decide that they're going to solicit the help of education departments to make this big. And they approach states and cities for assistance. Of all of the states they approach, only 3 agree: West Virginia, Delaware, and North Carolina. And only 2 cities agree: Washington, D.C., where he's living, and then, of course, Baltimore. And we take it on in a big way. Our school superintendent of colored schools back then, Francis Wood, decides to really run with it. And we'll get back to that in a second. By 1929, so 3 years later, even though there were only a handful of primary adopters or first adopters, by 1921, virtually every state and city that has a sizable African American population by 1929 is celebrating Negro History Week, which continues to grow in popularity for decades. In 1970, Black educators at Kent State University in Ohio decide to go even bigger, and they take the entire month of February to celebrate African American history. And by 1976, they get the idea of February as Black History Month gets the presidential stamp of approval when Jimmy Carter, in celebrating our country's bicentennial, our founding, says the following in a speech. He urges all Americans to, quote, seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And from there, every president since Jimmy Carter has promoted and endorsed Black History Month in February. So want to end by doing our own, in Jimmy Carter's words, honored the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans by first honoring Carter Woodson, Dr. Woodson, for his incredible lifelong accomplishments in the field of African American history and in education. And then want to wrap up by honoring a few of the schools that participated in Negro History Week way back in 1926 here in Baltimore, giving it traction and allowing it to take off into what we have today for the month of February. So just a few, I'm going to read out just a few. The Afro back then did a wonderful story documenting some of the activities. At Dunbar Junior High School, daily programs included features on Woodson's own scholarly work and another scholar, Benjamin Brawley. Douglas Junior High School sang the Negro National Anthem and studied biographies of historical Black figures. The Colored Training School, their capstone event was a lecture by Dr. O'Connell from Morgan State University on Black history. And finally, at school number 106, they got a special address. Their week ended with a special address by school superintendent Wood, whose work made it possible to celebrate that Negro History Week back then in Baltimore City's colored schools. This is way before our schools were integrated after the 1954 decision of Brown versus Board of Education. So school number 106 got a special talk by Francis Wood, and then I think fittingly and movingly concluded by the entire school joining in and singing America the Beautiful. All right, thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.